Good evening, class, and welcome to your Chapter 4 lesson on individual values, perceptions, and reactions. Please advance to slide 2, and we're going to cover the objectives. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to understand how personality traits relate to values, perceptions, and reactions, understand how cognition, affect, intention, and cognitive dissonance affect attitudes in the workplace, identify 2 categories of values and how they apply in the workplace, explain how emotions and moods relate to job performance and satisfaction, and identify perceptual processes and the effects of stress in the workplace. Please advance to slide 3. Personalities affect much of what we do with relationships in life, but they can have a long-standing effect on how the workplace operates, either effectively or ineffectively. So to gain a better understanding of how Chapter 4 integrates with your workplace, we'll do a quick review of the Big 5 framework of personality traits from Chapter 3. So I want you to think about which one of these traits apply to you and how that personality trait relates to the main subjects of this lesson. Agreeableness is somebody who gets along well with others. So a person of this personality trait has a tendency to perform well and maintain good relationships with people. Someone who is conscientious is reliable, organized, and detailed. You're a planner, and you are a high-level performer. Someone who is neurotic is insecure, subject to negativity, and can even have extreme mood swings. Someone who's an extrovert is someone who does well in large groups or social gatherings, and someone who's an introvert is someone who does not do well in social gatherings or large groups. Someone who is open is creative and open to new ideas and concepts. So which one of these traits apply to your personality? Think about the spectrum of each trait. Are you on one end or the other, or closer to the middle? Let's see how these apply to values, perceptions, and reactions. Please advance to slide 4. You've heard about attitude. You have a positive or a negative attitude about something in school, politics, or even at work. You probably have heard the phrase, "she has an attitude problem." How are attitudes formed? What encompasses an attitude? An attitude is just a mechanism of how to express feelings about a specific subject. An attitude comprises of 3 components: cognition, affect, and intention. Cognition is knowledge that you believe that you have about a specific subject. So if you're a Republican and you watch the news during an election year, then you're going to gain knowledge about the Republicans that are running in the election. You are cognitive about the candidates and their platforms. Affect is how you feel about a specific subject or a person. Think about affection. You may love or hate something. This is part of your attitude towards a person, thing, or concept. Intention is what guides you to act on something. This is your behavior, your actions in relation to politics. If you like a particular candidate, you intend to vote for that candidate during the primary election. So these 3 components are the ingredients of the attitude recipe. They bake together to create your refined outlook and opinion towards a person, thing, or concept. In addition to these attitude ingredients, you also have cognitive dissonance, which is a conflict or incompatibility between behaviors or attitudes. So if you're the manager of a department and you have a supervisor who is a very high performer but doesn't treat their employees well, what are you going to do about this? How do you approach it? Do you praise their high performance and ignore the inappropriate behavior? Or do you just address the inappropriate behavior? This is the type of internal conflict that can be difficult to deal with, but is highly common in any industry. Please advance to slide 5. When you hear the word value, what comes to mind? Money, morals? In Chapter 4, value is a related way of behaving. Some may perceive a value as a moral. There are 2 categories of values that relate in a work environment: terminal and instrumental, and intrinsic and extrinsic values. Terminal values revolve around a sense of fulfillment, accomplishing goals, and this can relate to a career or family. Based on a person's place in life, his or her terminal values may change. Instrumental values are the driving force behind achieving terminal values. They center on ambition, integrity, and even an internal drive to achieve. Intrinsic values relate to the satisfaction that you get when you accomplish a goal or complete your work. And this is also applied to advancing in your career due to that success. Extrinsic values are what you get, the result of that work that you accomplish, and those are your intrinsic values. That's your pay, your benefits, or even recognition. So what values can you relate to? How do you see this play out in your life and in your work? Please advance to slide 6. Oh, wow, she is so emotional. I just can't talk right now. I'm feeling emotional. Just leave me alone. I'm in a bad mood right now. I'm in a great mood today. How are you feeling? How many times have you heard someone say any of these phrases? What do they mean? How do they relate to how we interact with people in relationships and at work? Emotions play a big role in how we interact with people at work, and they affect how we perform, but they can be controlled. Emotions are instant reactions. They're physiological, like your increased heart rate. They're behavioral, like crying or yelling, and psychological, like anger or depression. Emotion can be directed at a person or a thing. You can express anger towards a supervisor or a piece of equipment that is not operating correctly. Remember that emotions are short-lived and are typically intense. Moods, however, are emotional states that may last for longer periods of time. A mood can be influenced by a positive or negative interaction with someone at work. There are two ends of the spectrum with moods, either the affectivity. If you're on the high end of affectivity, you will deal better with moods at work. If you're on the lower end, the negative end of affectivity, you may have lower performance and satisfaction. Please advance to slide 7. Perception of stress is a daily occurrence in any organization. The phrase perception is reality is something I have to say to my team every day. The best way to describe perception is with one word: interpretation. How do I interpret what someone is saying to me? My interpretation, or my perception, is my reality. So there are two processes that we use to create our perceptions: selective perception and stereotyping. Selective perception is a process of weeding out any information that conflicts with our beliefs. For example, I have to inform a staff member, one that I believe is an exceptional performer, that another person in her department is going to be off the next day. Jane, I just wanted to let you know that Mary's going to be off tomorrow. She decided to switch her days. Jane's response: well, she didn't tell me. I guess she would have found out tomorrow, or I would have found out tomorrow during huddle. Well, I dismissed her negative attitude because she heard about the change from someone outside of her department, and she typically does not react this way. Because my perception of her performance is high, my selective perception guided me to dismiss her response. Stereotyping, however, is a method of labeling someone because of a specific characteristic. When I'm reviewing candidates for managerial positions, I focus on whether or not they have experience in manager roles. I stereotype those who list that on their resume, and I assume that they will have a good fit for that role. But stereotyping, again, is a form of assuming. Stress plays a strong role in how organizations function, can be positive or negative, and how we adapt and respond to it can have a significant effect on how we operate in an organization. The process of how we react to stress in a situation is called GAS, or the General Adaptation Syndrome. Alert, resistance, and exhaustion are the 3 steps in this process. And here's a perfect example of how the GAS process works. I'm a university instructor, and I'm also a student. And here's the process in action. What? How on earth am I going to do a video presentation with a correlating PowerPoint, 2 case studies, discussion board posts, grade 10 PowerPoints, grade 57 students discussion board posts, and grade 57 papers in 5 nights and 2 days? Okay, I got this. I just need to plan out my week and my weekend and not let anything get in my way. At this point, I may not be able to ignore any of the stressors, and either I fall behind and I miss an assignment, or I'm completely exhausted by the time Monday rolls around. One of the most important aspects of stress, especially as a manager, is how stress is managed. Think about that the next time you step into a stressful situation at work. Please advance to slide 8. So during this lesson, we covered the following from chapter 4. We quickly reviewed personality traits that reflect values, perception, and reactions. Attitudes are created by cognition, affect, intention, and cognitive dissonance. Values are terminal and instrumental, intrinsic and extrinsic. Emotions and moods Our quick reactions and moods may last longer, and they both affect job satisfaction and performance. Perceptions and stress are covered we covered selective perception and stereotyping and the general adaptation syndrome. Think about these 5 main points from Chapter 4 and how you can learn to communicate those in the workplace. Please advance to slide 9. These are additional questions for the class. As a manager or supervisor in your current organization, how would you apply this knowledge to managing staff and resolving conflict? And lastly, in addition, think about the trait that matches your personality. Think of the big 5. How does that correlate with values, perceptions, and reactions, and how you communicate effectively in your organization? Thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.